This is JJ Solomon.
This is Ray Bradshaw, Mr. RTBA. Mr. These boys can't touch me on my worst day. This is the Spit Bucket Podcast.
The Spit Bucket Speed Bag is brought to you by Diggles Elite Clothing.
Welcome back to the Spit Bucket Podcast. Got a loaded show, a special show, a show for the ladies.
For the ladies.
Let's give the ladies some love today. Let's give the ladies some love. Right off the bat, bro, let's talk about Jessica McCaskill.
Hey, man, shout out to Jessica McCaskill, the undisputed welterweight champion of the world.
I love it.
Straight up, like she put on a dominant performance.
That body work, bro.
Her last performance, we got to give it up to her. She one of the spotlights in women boxing, and her future looking extremely bright.
I love it. Jessica McCaskill looked good last time. She got a bright future. She got great records. She got some belts. And man, I love her body work, dude. Yeah. That body work, that targeted body work.
Ferocious.
I love it, Jessica. Keep it going. Keep it going.
Hey, giving it up for the ladies, Mr. JJ Solomon. We couldn't make this list about the ladies without talking about this lady, two-time gold medalist, Olympian.
The GOAT.
Two-weight division undisputed in Clarissa Shields. You know, she coming back to fight Emma Kozin on January the 29th.
Yeah, her fight got canceled, or her fight got postponed in December, moving it to January 29th. But man, the boxing world is excited to have Clarissa Shields back. She ventured into the MMA world. She did her thing. She looked great. You know, the second fight didn't come out, but she still took on a great challenge. But the boxing world is excited to have our Olympian back in boxing to start dominating again. So I love it. I'm looking forward to Clarissa Shields. Hey, how about this one, man? We had a lovely chance to visit with super bad Seniesa Estrada a couple months back, but she came out with a murderous knockout of what was it? Maria Santizo, right?
Yeah. Shout out to Superbad. Like, one thing about Superbad, every time she step in that ring, sir, and everybody from her to across the pond, she shows up and she shows out. Like I said, the essence that she brings in that ring is just different. That's why you see them stars shining bright around Superbad, you know, when she in this boxing.
Oh, the zone is smart. They trying to make her a star. They keep handing her the microphone and they hand her the gloves. But yeah, if y'all hadn't had a chance, listen, we want to show some love to these women boxers. Go back and take a look at Superbad Estrada's last fight. It was the knockout. She landed two clean punches. Seniesa here, she got a wonderful amateur background. We're excited to see what's Superbad because she is super bad. She's a bad woman.
You're talking about a bad woman. Let's talk about a bad woman across the pond, and Katie Taylor, who got a decision victory over Sharapova in a controversial, not saying she didn't win, but the scorecards were a little crazy.
The scorecards were a little off. I still think Taylor won. Taylor is 1-2 for me. She showed that she's got endurance. She could go 10 rounds at a hard pace. She kept that pace up. For me, she's 1-2. For me, that was a hell of a fight. A good fight. A good technical fight. The decision, like Corey said, the scorecards were a little off. It was a lot closer with them scorecards said, but big ups to Katie Taylor. We're excited about what the future holds in 2022 because Amanda Serrano. Tell about Amanda Serrano. $1 million Amanda Serrano.
She woke up in her bed that day after that fight and seeing that paycheck. You can't do nothing but salute.
Did you see that tweet?
Amanda Serrano, you know, 8 division world champion. You know, when people look at her, they look at her as the best of the best when they come in boxing, and everything that she displayed for a long time it's gratitude to see her get that $1 million check. Man, shout out to Amanda.
Yeah, good job.
Shout out to Jay Paul too.
Yeah, shout out to Jay Paul for putting her on that platform. But hey, don't forget, She went over to the cage world of MMA too. She's sitting at what, 3-0 now? She's sitting 3-0. Yeah. So Amanda Serrano, you are a pioneer for boxing, a pioneer for women's boxing. And listen, talking about Amanda Serrano, I think when you talk about women's super fights, we just talked about Katie Taylor. Do you think we're finally going to see that, bro? Like, and what are your thoughts about it?
Oh, absolutely. I'm thinking when you're looking at Amanda Serrano, you looking at Katie Taylor, you looking at a clash of the Titans. You know, you're gonna, like you said, you're gonna have people think Katie Taylor gonna win. You're gonna have people think Amanda Serrano gonna win. That's just a clash of the Titans, and that's something to popularize women boxing. They need to make this matchup happen immediately because them two coming together will do wonders for women's boxing.
You have the UK against, United States, but then Puerto Rico, which is where Amanda Serrano's from. Amanda Serrano's Puerto Rican, which is the boxing blood from Puerto Rico. The United States fan base oversees Katie Taylor being the superstar over there. The fight has to happen. The fight will be $1 million fight because you know who's going to be involved, Mr. YouTube himself, Jake Paul, and it's going to be it's going to be good. It's going to put women's boxing on the map. So for the promoters and for the networks, let's make that fight happen.
And one more thing, I want to give a big dog salute, to women boxing. Because it came a time where we didn't have rising stars and stars of these fighters who we mentioned with the accolades behind their name. They are making a real presence in this sport right now. So we got the big dog salute women boxing right now. Y'all came a long way.
You talking 20, 30 years ago, it was just Christy Martin and then Layla Ali. And that's it. Then Mia St. John.
And we can't forget about that woman out of Texas who was most feared, and Ann Wolf.
Ann Wolf was a mother, but now, there were kind of different times, different weight zones. We've got names in the business, and like I've been saying for the past 3 weeks, let's make these fights happen. Let's start pumping blood into women's boxing because the potential is there to blow it up. Let's make Serrano and Katie Taylor happen. And last big shout out to women's boxing. A couple weeks ago, Matchroom signed Cruz Dezern and Saduro, 2 super middleweight champs. And the goal is there to have an undisputed super middleweight women's champ. That's the shit. That's what we need to see. Undisputed champions fighting champions. So looking forward to that.
Especially with women boxing.
It needs to happen. It needs to happen now because there's women, just like men, pouring their hearts out, sacrificing their families, putting it all on the line. So these ladies need to get rewarded. These ladies need the spotlight because that's what they're doing. This is their career, and it's our responsibility, the bosses of boxing, to make it worth it, to pay off their sacrifice. So keep a lookout for a loaded women's boxing. There's several divisions, but we're excited about it. From Shields to Superbad to Katie Taylor to, in my Mr. IOTBA voice, across the pond, Miss Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. Let's make it happen.
Man, shout out to the ladies of boxing.
Hey, what's your thoughts on who's gonna come out on top if Serrano and Katie Taylor square off in the ring?
It's tough to say, but
let's talk about the common opponent
of Amanda Serrano,
Miriam Gutierrez,
and Miriam Gutierrez, and Katie Taylor versus Miriam Gutierrez. That's a matchup we could look at because both of them fought the opponent. And then what I've been seeing out of both of the fighters lately, I gotta lean towards Amanda.
I think I do too.
She's just on a different level right now. And then, with this re-energized energy she got from Jake Paul back in her.
Yeah, $1 million to do that.
She was already bad as a mother. Shut your mouth, but dude, I got the roll with Amanda. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I agree 100%. I think Serrano takes that fight in a good fight, but let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
And that's this week's TSB Speed Bag.
DC with Diggers Elite Cleaning, y'all. We have 2 deodorizers here. What we specialize in is one of the things that makes our brand stand out. When you come clean your home, you can get one of. This is one of our deodorizers. It's a little icy, but most of our customers love it. But if there's something going on in your home, it's that smell that you cannot get rid of, hit us up. This is the deodorizer that you might want to use. I don't care if you got a skunk in the building. This is gonna basically get rid of that smell.
TSB, this week in boxing history. Let's open up that vault. Let's talk about the old days, honoring the legends.
Oh, January the 20th, Mr. J.J. Solomon. We got Floyd Mayweather. He defeats Diego Corrales.
Chico Corrales.
Devastating
R.I.P.
fashion.
Chico.
And he made a definite name for himself off that victory. Everybody had Corrales. A lot of people had Corrales defeating Floyd Mayweather. And the way Floyd Mayweather dominated Diego Corrales,
oh, man,
that was a momentous occasion that night for Floyd.
That made Floyd. I remember sitting on a couch with my pops saying, I'm tired of hearing about Floyd. Diego Corrales is finally going to shut him up. He's bigger. He's longer. He's got the distance. He's going to be able to control this fight. He's got knockout power. Oh, my God, was I wrong. I think that was the last time I was wrong in a fight.
It's been 20 years. Reminded me of how Lomachenko made Gary Russell Jr. look like Floyd made Diego Corrales.
Diego Corrales was an undefeated champ with knockout power and boxing ability. And oh my God, that was the fight that people always say Floyd Mayweather was a runner, a defensive fighter. Go back and look at Floyd Mayweather when he fought Corrales. Anything before De La Hoya, the man was a monster. And that was the fight that shut me up about Mayweather. And from then on, you know, he showed me that.
He showed everybody he was for real.
Yeah, I thought he was just a little fella who wasn't. No, go back and check out Corrales and Mayweather.
Open up that vault.
Open up the vault. We've got, oh man, this is a good one. January 22nd, 1973. George Foreman shook up the entire heavyweight. He shook up the whole sport, the landscape of the whole division. He comes out and knocks out Muhammad Ali's next opponent, Joe Frazier, in 2 rounds. Yeah. He shook up the world, dude.
Yeah. No, I could just remember. I wasn't born then, but I remember seeing clips and highlights and seeing how he was, when he hit Joe Frazier, he was plucking like that was.
Hell yeah.
Hey, salute to George Foreman, man. He made a name that day because a lot of people, me doing my research, they thought Joe Frazier was going to beat George Foreman, and George Foreman came and changed the game on that real quick.
I don't know if y'all know, George Foreman used to box. He wasn't just a grill maker.
Hey, JJ, speaking of history, January 22nd, 1988.
My favorite.
Mike Tyson KO Larry Holmes in 4 rounds.
I like the way you got up on the mic for that one, because that's some big shit. Listen, these are 2 of my favorite heavyweights of all time. Larry Holmes got a bad rap for knocking out America's hero in an old Muhammad Ali. And then Ali came out and whispered something in Mike Tyson's ear. Hey, go get him back for me. Because Mike Tyson, Ali was his hero. Oh boy. And boy, what he did to Larry Holmes that night. And what was he, 21 years old?
Yeah, something like that.
21, 22 years old, he's a baby. Yeah. And what he did to a Larry Holmes, he damn near defended his belts for a whole decade. Yeah, that's some history right there, man.
And deservedly so. You know, Larry Holmes always talk, and Larry Holmes was a great champion.
I love him, man.
He always talk about, how he got a bad rep. Look how you were so disrespectful in them interviews. I remember when you I seen you playfully slap Ali, and then the way you just did him, even though it is boxing, but Ali was a hero to a lot of people. He wasn't just a fighter. He was a hero. And when Mike Tyson in '88 destroyed Larry Holmes, that was a happy moment. That healed a lot of people.
That was revenge. Let's not make it sound like Mike Tyson wasn't Mr. Disrespectful though, bro. Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying, like, he got our payback for what he did to Ali, man.
Hey man, I love Larry Holmes, and listen, it was passing the torch, you know what I mean? So what we got here, we don't even have to. Here's what I'm gonna do. January 24th, 1976. We're not even gonna talk on this. If you're new to boxing, if you've got access to YouTube, go to George Foreman versus Ron Lyle. You're welcome, right?
Yeah, you're welcome.
You're welcome. Just go check it out.
Yeah,
don't stop what you're doing. Let's get to the end of this episode, all right? Immediately after this, Google search George Foreman versus Ron Lyle. This happened January 24th, a couple of days. And like I said, you're welcome. One of the fights of the decade, one of the rounds of the decade in round 4. So check it out. What else we got?
Oh man, we got Joe Louis. I mean, this is 1939. Like 80, 90 years ago. He defeats John Henry Lewis to become the heavyweight champion of the world. That was significant because Joe Louis was a black man. We know Jack Johnson was the first black man to become heavyweight champion, but Joe Louis, he was a sensation.
He was a hero.
He was a hero, and a lot of people, you know, they rank Joe Louis as high as being the best heavyweight of all time. But you know, it was a different era, so you know, you have to respect when people say Joe Louis was possibly the best heavyweight.
Yeah, well, yeah. He made. It was tough times back then. You know, I don't like going back there, but yeah, Joe Louis being a black heavyweight champ. You guys got to understand, back then being a heavyweight champ was being the world's superhero. So Joe Louis being a black heavyweight champion was huge. So yeah, January 25th, 1939. We've got a couple of birthdays. January 22nd, from across the pond, Mr. Nigel Benn, who had an excellent career.
Yeah, shout out to Nigel Benn.
58 years old birthday.
Hey, 58 years old. Shout out to him. You know, even though he's legendary for his career, you know, we're going to always remember Nigel Benn for that tragic night in that fight he had with
Gerald
McClellan. You know, that was horrific, you know, and we don't wish that on nobody. That's why we do the TSB Warriors Foundation now. But everybody know, you know, boxing is a dangerous sport, and you know the consequences and repercussions
for sure
of getting into it.
For sure, and you know, from the American standpoint, from American boxing fan base, that's what they remember Nigel Benn for that tragic night against Gerald McClellan. One of the big stars of the sport around that time. A lot of people said he'd have given Roy Jones a run for his money, but it's just a sad story. But let's not take away from Nigel Benn's career and what he did across the pond, his rivalry
with Chris Eubanks.
Yeah, with Chris Eubanks, and now Nigel Benn's boy Connor is making a splash in the boxing scene. So kudos to you, Nigel Benn. Happy birthday, sir. We respect what you did in the business.
Happy birthday.
We got January 24th, Lamont Peterson's birthday. Happy birthday, sir.
Yeah, happy birthday to Lamont Peterson. I'm going to always remember this. You know, this was Earl Spence coming out party. We was in Brooklyn, New York at the Barclays Center. You know, I had the privilege of having my media pass, you know, being all access. And, you know,
I didn't get no invite.
Seeing Earl Spence arrive for Dallas, Texas. It was big for Dallas, Texas, the city where we from at the time, because that was his coming out party to, you know, where he let everybody know he was for real. But even though he did that to Lamont Peterson, you know, and
hey man, Lamont was a champ.
He was a champion.
He's a worthy champ. He earned it. He did his thing. So happy birthday, sir. Thank you for your contributions to the sport, and we wish you the best. And according to my notes, that's closing the vault for the Spit Bucket this week in boxing history. All right. TSB Spitter is brought to you by the Crib Cashers. You need to sell your home quick, skip the repairs, any condition, any situation, no closing costs, no realtor commissions, and have a cash offer for your home in 24 hours. Just call 214-494-1340 or visit thecribcashers.com. That's thecribcashers.com.
Hey man, spit shit, man. This is my spit of the week, and it's Adrian Broner, AB, Mr. About Billions. Boy, talk that shit.
Quit playing, man. I looked at you like a little brother, and then I ain't really that mad at you because you just a little nigga who was easily influenced. Like I'm really mad at that nigga Floyd because he got you doing this gay shit. The same nigga that called me and told me he don't with you, nigga. So I see why he want you to fight me so I can beat your ass because he know that you can't beat me, nigga. You tripping, nigga, and you supposed to be from the streets. How you gonna let a nigga turn you on me? Nigga, I do whatever for you. Same nigga that blew in the head for you, nigga.
Man, shout out to Adrian Broner. See, one thing about Adrian Broner, you know, he let the truth come to the power and the power come to the truth. Like I said, I always said this about him. He was a guy who was very railroaded by all these top fighters you see now. He spoke on Gervonta Davis. He was the guy who bought Gervonta Davis to Floyd Mayweather, and Floyd Mayweather signed him. Everybody know that Floyd Mayweather is a manipulative type of guy. Look the way he had the conversation with his father in public and put out there and say, oh, you was the worst, and all that other stuff like that. All these fighters, they played Adrian Broner. You know what I'm saying? Do you see all these fighters around Adrian Broner now? Because when Adrian Broner was popping, he had Earl Spence around him. He had Gervonta Davis around him. He had every fighter on PBC who you could think was around him. So I believe everything he say, and he's spitting that this week.
Yep. it's a classic case of people leaving you once you fall off that pedestal. So, I've got my critiques with AB, but he did his thing, and good job to him. Now my spit of the week. I wouldn't say this is any like fire lines or anything like that. It just made me feel warm and fuzzy inside, because as a child growing up in the sport, I'll tell you what, two of my favorite boxers back in the 90s was Lennox Lewis and Riddick Bowe. And they had some bad blood. I don't know if you guys remember Riddick Bowe taking that belt, throwing it in the trash, vacating it. A lot of people said he was ducking Lennox Lewis. Lennox mopped the floor with him back in the Olympics. And there was some bad blood up until very recently. Check out the video.
God bless you. I want to do everything. I want to know. I don't have no problem with Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. How's everything?
This is historic. The new year. This is historic. It needs to happen. It needs to happen. Long overdue.
Don't that make you feel good, man? Don't that make you feel just two heated rivals who hated each other, squashing the beef?
Hey, salute to them. I mean, I don't know where the beef ever came from. It's just because I guess Riddick Bowe felt disrespected, but it was good for us boxing fans to see them finally shake hands and squash that after this long time.
Yeah, so that's my Bowe-Lewis reconciliation, my spit of the week.
Man, this shit of the week right here. Logan Paul came out and said, when I scrolled up my articles, that Floyd Mayweather ain't paid him. Now I want everybody from the 214 to across the pond. I know we see Logan Paul is rich or whatever, but I don't care. If you hear somebody ain't paid you some money, that's hella disrespectful, especially from a guy like Floyd Mayweather, who walks around and brag and talk about, I got this money, and we just seen him in Dubai announcing he finna fight off this skyrocket against this the youngest millionaire in Dubai. I think it's hella disrespectful if that's true. And Floyd, we need answers, sir.
I would, just real quick, I would say Logan Paul's been very vocal about it. If it wasn't true, I feel like Floyd would have just sent a little screenshot. Like, dude, I paid you. That's it. But no, he hadn't. He's over there signing contracts to fight on a building. So anyway, here's my shit of the week. Teofimo Lopez jumping on Twitter, getting all angry, doing his thing. It's probably his dad tweeting for him or something, but talking about, I will become undisputed in all caps again, but at junior welterweight, hashtag the takeover. Mr. Lopez, Mr. Teofimo Lopez, come on, man. Let's not forget what just happened by somebody who wasn't considered a king at 135. You thought you were just going to come in here. I think you took such a beating that you forgot how to do math there toward the end, because you said you won that fight 11 rounds to 2. Let's tap the brakes a little bit. I appreciate you having goals and aspirations and all that good stuff. I think you can be undisputed, but you can't just come in here claiming it after what happened not too long ago.
Yeah, my thing with Teofimo, you just need to shut up. Just shut up, Tio. Like, the way you coming off, it's coming off as arrogance. And like JJ said, you took a beating against George Kambosos Jr. And for you to come out and say this, have high aspirations, but we don't want to hear you talk. Because the last time we heard you talk, it was making excuses because you lost to George Kambosos. So just shut up.
Yeah, you disgrace yourself, bro. And I hate to say that because I respect everybody who walks into the ring. You can't take an ass whooping like that and then say you won it and keep talking shit, especially on Twitter. So have some respect for the game, brother. That's my shit of the week. And coming up next, guys, we are honored to have the legendary Hall of Fame referee, actor, boxer, everything, whatever you want to call him, Mr. Joe. What's that thing he
Hold up, he say, Mr. I'm fair, but I'm firm.
I'm fair, but I'm firm. Mr. Joe Cortez, coming up next. All right, we are here live with former boxer, former legendary ref, former actor from Balboa. Now he's kind of leading the way in the health and awareness industry. Mr. Joe Cortez, we are so excited to have you here. Thank you very much. Just want to talk to you. How are you doing? We know it's been a rough few, 12 to 18 months. Kind of catch us up on what's been going on the life of Mr. Cortez.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me on the show. And thanks to all the fans out there. So I'm gonna tell you that I'm glad to be back. When I say back, because of that COVID, I was hospitalized 5 solid months in the hospital, and I was like, I saw the other side. I was one of the lucky guys.
Wow.
Made it out alive, you know. But it was a tough one, and you know, today I told everybody out there to please be careful because this COVID is some serious stuff. I mean, what's going on today now? You should be vaccinated, wear that mask because it's not easy, you know. I mean, like I said, I made it, but you have to stay healthy and be careful and keep your guards up at all times.
On that note, I know you're working on kind of like it's a health podcast, right? A health-focused podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, you know, I felt that I had to pay back. I mean, I made it through, but I said, you know what, I want to be a leader. You know, I would like to lead in whatever I did, whether it was the referees, the judges, or even in family life itself. I like to always go out there and, you know, be the front runner, be out there, letting people know what to do and what not. But I can tell you that this healthcare talk show, I said I should get out there and do something to help people, at least put the word out there. Then one thing led to another, then I started getting different people in different fields, in the medical field. I said, Joe, I'd like to be on the show with you to talk a little bit about my expertise in healthcare. I said, okay. So, you know, I have all kinds of people coming on board, and one of the things I'm going to start getting on, one of my recent shows was about depression and anxiety, which is something a lot of us can suffer for one reason or another, but we have to know how to deal with it. And one of the things is mental preparation. You know, like we tell the fighters and trainers tell the fighters, hey, you got to be in good physical condition to win this fight, but you also got to be mentally prepared.
Sure.
Because sometimes, you know, the going gets tough in that ring, and you don't know which way to turn, especially if you're taking a pounding. If you're mentally prepared for that, then you know one move you go to plan B. But you can't go to plan B if you're not thinking about it. You got to be mentally prepared before the fight. Say, this is going to happen. Go out there, I'm going to start punching this guy, and start moving. But if I get caught with a shot and I get my head starts spinning and I feel like I'm on Quiz Street, I don't know what the heck is going on. You got to go to plan B, but you got to be mentally prepared for that. You got to train yourself for that. It doesn't happen automatically. The same thing happened in personal life when it comes to healthcare. You know, I mean, I was able to weather the storm, but I was that close to not making it.
Speaking of mental preparation, tell me, being at the height, you know, being one of the best referees of all time, that show what you making the Hall of Fame. Tell me what type of mental preparation going into making it to the highest of highs when it comes to being a referee in boxing.
Okay, well, first of all, you have to leave your ego at the door, you know, going into whatever you do in life. Leave your ego at the door. You say, okay, now I'm going to go in there. I'm going to go in there with the best, some of the best referees out there. I used to watch guys when I came in 77. I came in, I started watching guys like Zach Clayton, Arthur McCanny, Tony Perez, Danny Cristodulo. To me, at that time, they were about the best referees out there. And I like the way they were working, you know. I said, I like the movement that Tony Perez is making. I like Arthur McCanny, the way he moves in that ring, takes command. Mm-hmm. Zach Clayton, I like his movement. Zach Clayton was one of the better ones because Zach Clayton was a home globe trotter.
Yeah.
You know, he played basketball. So he used to tell me, Joe, you got to use that footwork. You're pretty quick on your feet, but this is what you got to do. He used to tell me, I want you to be like a cat in the ring. You know, go in, go up, move around, you know. He told me how to break the fighters up. He told Larry Hazard and myself how to become better referees. And Larry Hazard and I, he's a commissioner in New Jersey now. He's been a commissioner for 30-some years. And Larry and I, we kind of revolutionized refereeing with our ring mechanics, with our techniques. And you can see now, all the referees, they're in better position. They know how to take command. They know how to verbal command, loud verbal command, do the signs with your hands. So you people know if you're taking a point for low blows, for headbutt. You can give the signs. The people up at the rafters can see that the referee's taking control, or the referee warning him for hitting with the head. He warned with the low blow. The referee giving these signs.
Hey, Joe, and Speaking of, you know, your motto, you're saying, you know, you fair, but you firm, right? It was a lot of controversy surrounding Floyd Mayweather versus Victor Ortiz. Even though, in my opinion, you know, it was legal what Mayweather did, but it was still a lot of backlash after that fight. So what was your thoughts on that? Did you think it was legal? Did you think Mayweather, you know, pushed the buttons? What was your assessment?
Well, you know, Larry Merchant said it best. To commentate like that, he said it was a legal sucker punch. Victor Ortiz, started with the headbutt. You know, started headbutting Floyd. Had to take points from Victor Ortiz, and you do tell the fighter to protect something all the time. And when I did bring him back together, I mean, he hugged Mayweather, he kissed him on the cheek.
Yeah, over and over and over and over.
Yeah, and that's when Floyd said, "Hey, what the hell, you know? How many times am I gonna hug you, man?" I had to apologize. And then when he told me to do the signal in my hand, you know, I went to the timekeeper, you know, to resume the clock again. And when I did, Ortiz went to lower the guards again to hug him again. And they was like, Joe said, time in with the signal with the hand. So he went and hit him. And I knew that I made the signal. So I said, I came back home because
You made the signal.
the clock was in.
That was so that's one thing I noticed from your end. That happened so fast. And it seemed like you were instantly able to process that was a legal shot. So what was going on in your mind? Did you have to debate yourself and say, was that legal or not? Like, how long did you know that was a legal shot?
When my hand went down, I knew time was in.
Yeah.
And that's when then he got hit right after that. So I said, you know, time was in.
Yeah.
You know, if you go on instant replay, like you do with basketball, football, even now even boxing, now we got replay in boxing. When you do a signal and you catch it, you know, you say, I said to myself, I know I called time in. I know he got hit at, you know, after I get the time in. So there was, I mean, you have to always be mentally prepared as a referee as well. But yeah, you know, a lot of fans say, I hate Joe Cortez. That's the worst referee in the world. He sounded the worst, you know, and all because of that little move that Victor Ortiz made that he started, and he should have never gotten to that level. And he himself apologized to me. I don't know how many times after that. I met him as I was doing some work with ESPN. I got to talk with him. We got to interview him live on the air. And he brought it up himself. He said, Joe, he said, look, the whole crew, you know, on ESPN, it was in Spanish. And he said that he was sorry for what he did with Mayweather. His cornerman told him to headbutt Mayweather intentionally. He said, that should have never happened. He said, that's not my style. He said, but you don't see none of those guys working with me anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, so I feel sorry for Victor. Victor's a good guy, let me tell you. I like him personally. He has a lot of class, a good man. He never, if anybody was to bitch about anything, it would have been Victor. And he never really openly said, you know, Joe screwed up. He said, he blamed it on himself. I said, Victor, you're a good man, forget about it. You made a mistake, you know, it's over. Then go on with your career because you still have a lot of talent, you know. And I like him personally, you know, I think he's a good guy.
Yep, that makes sense, man. And I'm sure you get tired of talking about the Ortiz-Mayweather deal, but I grew up watching you, Joe, and I remember, in my head at least, it was kind of like you took the torch from Richard Steele and Mills Lane to being the guy. That's the way I remember it. And I remember growing up, I loved when Joe Cortez was reffing a fight. There's tons to name. You know, from the George Foreman, man, what was your moment? What are some of your highlight moments?
One of the greatest moments in my career, and I knew that this was my calling as a referee, was when they assigned me to do Roberto Duran, I ran Buckley.
Wow, all right.
My 27 world title fight, number 27 of the 170 some odd fights that I refereed. But 27, that night in Atlantic City, Roberto Duran, I ran Buckley. You can watch that fight over and over.
Absolutely.
And as much as you watch it, you say, wow, I missed that part the last time I saw it.
Yeah.
There's so much action in every round of that fight. And nobody gave Duran a chance because of his age. He's fighting a middleweight. He's fighting a fighter like Ran Buckley. He just knocked out Tommy Hearns. He's a fighter that has it all. and it's gonna be hard for Roberto Duran to beat this guy. And you know that that night, I mean, it was like one of my best nights referee up to that moment because, I mean, I was moving around that ring. I kept control of the fight. I kept the flow of the fight going at every moment. You know, I didn't slow down the action. You know, on the contrary, both fighters in the years after that fight, was told me, Joe, man, you made that fight. You made us fight. You got it out of the clinches. You don't let us clinch. You kept the action going, and Roberto Duran ended up becoming the middleweight champion of the world.
Yep.
Split decision, putting Iran Barkley down in the 11th round, you know?
Hey, Joe, and speaking on that, wasn't that gratifying for Roberto Duran, you know, after he went through the no-mas situation with Sugar Ray Leonard to come back and redeem himself like that, going up another weight class and beating Ivan Barkley?
Yeah, it was amazing. I'm sure he felt like he was reborn again. He was, even to this day, when he sees that, he always hugs me. And then thanks, Joe, when you referee a good fight, you made me fight that night. He said, let me hold the clinch. He said, fight. He said, I had the adrenaline going. The adrenaline kept going because he said, you made me fight.
It's great.
He said, you told me in the dressing room, I didn't want to hold him because you figure, I said to myself, in the dressing room, I take control and I gave him the rules. And the one thing I said to myself, well, he's older, and I know Iran is younger, sharper, hits hard, and I know what Iran did to Tommy Hunt when he knocked him out. And so I'm going to be a little cautious with Roberto, even though, you know, I know he's got the talent, he's got the experience, but I don't know if he's got the power behind him or the stamina to go, because we knew that Roberto used to like to party a lot.
Yeah.
80 pounds in a couple of months to come back and take off that weight. So I took all of that into consideration. I said to myself, I'm gonna start him, let him fight, you know, with a clean slate. Everything is like a brand new. I'm not gonna look at the age. I'm gonna just look at fighter A, fighter B. It's the way it's supposed to be. And I mean, Duran showed me that night and showed the whole world, just like when I did referee George Foreman.
George Foreman, Michael Moore.
The mental preparation there for me, for George Foreman, and I'm sure for Michael Moore, but George Foreman had to come mentally prepared for that fight because, you know, he was losing every round.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was in a fight, but he wasn't taking a beating, real bad beating, but he was losing every round up until the 10th round when he turned it around,
and just
the left hook and the straight short right hand.
Yep.
Put Michael Moore down. And so me myself, I had to be mentally prepared for something like that to occur. They just turn everything around a matter of a second, the way it turned, and I had to keep control. Then lose my cool. George Foreman then lose his cool. He kept control. He had plan B in his head, and he used it up until he saw the opening. And Michael Moore, a nice guy, great champion, and you know, that was another one that I said that George Foreman, you got to give him a lot of.
That was legendary.
For his accomplishment. And the thing I like about the whole thing with the fight was a lot of fighters that were retired, older guys want to make comeback.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He kind of influenced what these old timers to come back, you know. And that's one of them you got to be careful because these old timers, you know,
for sure.
Physically they're not ready for it. They don't want nobody getting hurt.
Oh yeah, Father Time is undefeated for the most part, unless you're Tom Brady or Bernard Hopkins. Hey, I got a question for you. So, from the eyes of the ref, all right, from the eyes of a ref, are you keeping score in your head? Are you saying this guy's losing rounds? Has there ever been a situation where you're at the end of the fight and you're holding on to both boxers' hands and you're expecting to lift your right hand, raise your right hand, but you're like, whoa, that surprised me. Do you guys keep mental tabs of the rounds and the scores?
Yeah, well, you know, you try to see which fighter is taking a pounding because if one guy is getting hurt more than the other, you got to be watching that fight a little bit more because you have to prepare yourself to maybe stop it if you have to. And you know he's taking a beating, he's getting hurt free, and you got to think to yourself, well, I know he's not winning. But yeah, right then and there, I know he's not winning, and he doesn't seem to have a chance. I don't want to let him take unnecessary punishment. So I'm going to jump in, or I'm going to the corner, I'm calling the doctor, just to let them know, listen, you start taking any more punishment through the next round, I'm going to consider stopping this fight. So be careful, give me the best you got, but Bill showed me, I'm gonna stop it. And so so I do know that they one fighter beating the other. But sometimes there's fights that are very close. Like when I refereed Pernell Whitaker against
Chavez.
At the Alamo Dome, and there were 65,000 fans at the Alamo Dome,
and all 65,000 beers ended up in the ring.
Yeah. Pernell Whitaker and Chavez, and a lot of people felt that Whitaker would beat Chavez. Chavez was undefeated up until that point, and ended up with a draw. You know, so you got a draw.
Yeah.
And, you know, these are things that I said to myself when you said one or two fighters in, and one, you're gonna raise your hand, one or the other. And that one there was a draw. So I ended up picking up the two hands.
Yeah. And then took cover immediately.
Hey, and speaking of that, Joe, with you being a referee for such a long time on that same topic, is there any fights that you regret that you wish you would have stopped quicker in your career? Is there one fight that stand out to you?
Well, no, not really. Even though I did a fight that a fighter ended up passing, and that was a fight here in Las Vegas, and there was a fighter from Ghana, and it was a close fight. It was Fernandez, and you can't think of this fighter's name that passed anyway. Cause I try to keep some bad memories out of my head.
Yep.
I kind of forget their name. But Robert Wangila was a fighter. Robert Wangila and Fernandez, they were fighting at the Aladdin Hotel. And the fight was back and forth. It was a close fight, going back and forth. But Wangila looked like he was going to take it out towards the end. But I was checking the fights in between rounds, and they were both hurting each other. And I kept going to the corner. You guys, okay? You're okay? All right. I was calling the doctor. Go check them out just because. And in the 10th round, Wangila got hurt with an uppercut, and he went to grab Fernandez, and then Wangila, fell to the canvas because Fernandez pushed him. I said, no knockdown. So when he got up, I wiped off his glove, but I stayed close to the action because I know he was dazed. And I said, I got to watch him close. So he got hit with a 2-punch combination, and I jumped in and stopped it. And he said, come on, ref, I'm okay. Why you stopping this? Everybody started booing me for stopping this fight. And then, the doctor came into the room and checked him out. He never hit the canvas. And the doctor said, Joe, he's all right, And one of the commissioners asked me, said, Joe, not for nothing, man, but why didn't you stop that fight? I said, well, I saw something I didn't like, the way his eyes go back when he got hit with 2 punches. It was something like Corrales when he fought Castillo. Something like that, But so I stopped it, and there were people were booing the hell out of me for stopping that fight. And in the fight, and everybody was upset with me. And I'm saying to myself, well, yeah, this way I saw it. But anyway, I walked out the ring. A guy, some fan that was sitting there ringside, said, Joe, you're one of my favorite referees, but tonight you did a lousy job. So I said, hey, what can I do? But anyway, 15 minutes later, they come running out of the dressing room, but this kid having seizures back in the dressing room.
That's tough.
And so they took him by ambulance to the hospital, and they operated on him. He had a massive blood clot. I went to the hospital after the fights, and I got there. Dr. Campana, Albert Campana, was a surgeon. He came out of the room, the surgical room, and I was standing outside waiting with the family. And so the trainer was all out there waiting. And the whole family said, Joe, thank you so much that you did the right thing in stopping it, but he getting surgery. Everybody knew that I did the right thing now that they saw the condition he was in. And I'm sure that the fans the next day when they read the headlines, that Robert Wangila was in a coma. Anyway, he lasted about 2 days and he passed.
That's tough. That's unfortunate.
So you asked me if I would have had a fight that you changed back, I wish that fight would have never taken place. Because this guy, he was an Olympic champion, Robert Wangila, at one time, and it was a good fighter, fighting a good fight, and he was fighting like a champ that night. But those 2 punches turned the tables on him.
Wow.
And I was in there with my experience. I stopped it. But then you ask again about another fight people say, Joe, when back in the days when a fight would go down 3 times, it was automatically over. You know, you wave it off, right? Yeah. Well, how about what happened with one man named Marquez and Manny Pacquiao?
Yep.
But Marquez went down 3 times in the first round, and now it's up to the discretion of the referee. The rules have changed. Discretion of the referee, whether you stop it or let it continue. And I felt when Marquez went down, you see, now it gets a little tricky because you say, I know I'm watching out for the safety of the fighter, but now I got to be prepared when I go in as a referee and with my experience. When I saw Marquez go down for the 3rd time, he kind of Pacquiao took one more last punch, and if you look at the replay, you can see that he kind of hit him and grazed him with a punch. Well, the one glove was already touching the canvas, and I thought to myself, well, I can take a point, but it was so close that you know what? I'm not going to take the point because it was already going down. So I started counting. The reason why I started counting because I saw Marquez's eyes. They were flash knocked down, but I saw his reaction to like, hey, come on, Joe. He hit me when my glove was down, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I read in his eyes. And because he reacted that way, that's why I could continue to count.
Sure.
Because I saw that he was shocked to realize that he got hit with a punch that he shouldn't have got hit with. But I said to myself, it was like borderline. I'm not going to count. I'm going to keep the flow, the fight going. I'm not going to. The next thing he saw that I was counting, he jumped up. And I saw he was coherent. He jumped up and he kept fighting that same round. He finished strong that same round. And what happened next? He kept winning like almost every round for the next 6, 7 rounds. And then the fight ended up as a draw.
It's a draw, yep.
And Bob Arum said it when they had the 4th fight. They were doing an interview with Bob Arum, the promoter. And he said, you all think I remember one thing from Bob Arum. He said, the referee, Joe Cortez, had he stopped that first fight when Marquez went down 3 times, fight 2, 3, and 4 would never occur.
That's a hell of a point.
You know?
That's a hell of a point.
You know, but the thing was, I told referee, I'm trying to copy me what I did, because this was a moment that I'd rather see you stop it than to let it continue, because most fighters that go down 3 times in 1 round, it is a serious hurt
For
condition.
sure.
But there was an exception there with Marquez. I saw the difference. It was because of my experience I was able to pick that up, but not everybody can.
That makes sense.
Be careful, don't risk the fighter's life, because you try to do it like Joe Cortez did. I was lucky, I could have been on the other side too very easily.
For sure. Man, hearing all these like little intricate details of the fight really confirms, why you are the status you are. You know, you pay attention to the small things, the eyes, all this sort of stuff. So big kudos to you, and I love hearing that. Just a quick question on today's boxing. Are you up to, if you're up to speed with it, what's your thoughts on today's landscape and the climate of today of the sport today?
Okay, I'm going to answer that question in a second. One more thing I want to mention: one of the old fighters, one of the most famous, most loved fighters in the history of boxing, Sugar Ray Leonard. Mm-hmm. He came back. Yep. To fight Hector Camacho in Atlantic City.
Yes.
And I got called for that fight because they were concerned about Leonard, his age, because he was inactive for so coming 3 or 4 years. And they said, well, let's see what Joe's going to do. Now remember that Leonard, from the beginning, Camacho was taking control.
It's a bad night.
He put Leonard down, Leonard gets up, and I saw he was not there, he was not 100%. So he was a little in a concussive episode. You know, he was kind of like shaking up. He knew what he was doing, but he was kind of really... Yeah,
he wasn't supposed to be there.
And he took a couple of punches, and I jumped in, I stopped it right away. I didn't want to see him get knocked out. I said, I know where he's going. So I stopped it, and when knees buckled, I helped him with my arm up against the rope, and in my ear, he whispered, he said, thanks, Joe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You see, that's what a lot of people don't know about. But if you ever to interview Sugar Ray, he'll tell you. You know, he thanked me because he knew that I did the best thing. I was watching out for the safety of the fighter. And that's the way I am as a pro. Now going back to your question now again.
The climate of today. What are your thoughts on today's boxing scene?
Okay.
Loaded question.
Today you have a new generation, a new bunch of rising stars coming up, especially in the lighter divisions. Mm-hmm. You know, but you know what division I'm talking about?
They're 135 lightweight.
I'm talking about the lightweight.
Yep.
You got so many rising stars in there. I mean, it's like like when you say the golden era, when you had Leonard, you had Duran, you had Hearns, you had
Hagler,
this kind of guy. These are the guys you got there today. You got Haney, you got
Teofimo,
Lomachenko,
Cambosos.
Ryan Garcia. And, you have 3 or 4 guys in there that are really the new champion that just beat Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez was one of them up until he got beat the other day. But he's still in the mix. But these are the guys that are out there too. So yeah, we got a new bunch of rising stars in boxing. They're good. And look at the heavyweight division. I mean, you saw what Tyson Fury did with Deontay Wilder. So there's there's a couple of look at Canelo Alvarez, another superstar in boxing. So I mean, there's a new generation, a new breed of boxers out there doing really good, and I like to see that. Boxing needed that.
Absolutely.
You're only gonna get like a Mike Tyson, a Muhammad Ali, maybe like every 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
You get somebody outstanding like that. Not every year you're gonna get top-notch fighters.
For sure.
So you've seen all the greats. It's a big-time mega matchup that everybody, we've been waiting to see this fight for years now. And Terrence Crawford and Earl the True Spence Jr. What type of fight do you see that as, and do them two particular fighters remind you of any fighter you've seen come up as you've been refereeing in this game?
Yeah, well, I look at Crawford, one of the better ones out there. You look at Crawford, like if you look at Sugar Ray Leonard, that kind of Oscar de la Hoya type of guy, those are guys that they stand out because of their talent. And, Terrence Crawford definitely one of the standouts in the welterweight division. Earl Spence, he's another good one. I mean, you had Keith Foreman, who was there for a while, but kind of like slipping out the pitch a little by little. And he was a very talented fighter. And then you had Sean Porter, who was doing very good until he got stopped by Terrence Crawford the other day. So these are kind of things that occur in boxing, where you have a bunch of good ones out there, but everybody remember Hagler, Hearn, Duran, and Leonard.
Yeah. Those are golden years. That's the kings.
Muhammad Ali, every time he fought out there. But I said, you're not great unless you fight a great fighter, So that's why you have to see the competition up against one another to make you great. You need a good dance partner to.
Absolutely. For sure, man. I love it. Well, Joe, I got one more question for you. I know we're getting close on time, but hey, we're working on a project. What would it take for you to come out of retirement and ref one more special fight? Or are you done with it?
That sounds good. However, I think over the fight is safety, and I'm not gonna look out by myself. I did what I had to do in boxing.
Absolutely, man.
Hall of Famer, International Hall of Fame.
With one of the best classes in a long time, Mike Tyson, Chavez, Costa Zoo, the loaded class, 2011.
Yeah. And even Sylvester Stallone.
Oh yeah, you went in with old Balboa. That's right.
How did he come in? He's an actor. He's not even a boxer. You know what? He did a lot for boxing because of the Rocky movie. He brought a lot of fans into the game. So, it was honored for me to be part of that class.
That was awesome.
One of the best classes in the history of the inductions at the International Hall of Fame up in Canastota, New York. And I just, Noah, if I had a dream fight, though, you talk about a dream fight, not in reality, a dream fight would be a fight with me refereeing Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson.
Oh my goodness. I hope that's in heaven. That's going to be my heaven. I want to see that one day.
Hey, Joe. Joe, a lot of people don't know that you were a fighter. I think we looked on BoxRec and they said you were 9-1. Can you please let us know why you didn't pursue your fighting career? Because I see you did a lot of 4- and 6-round fights.
Yeah, BoxRec doesn't have the record correctly, but documented, they have, I think it's 11-1, and I had 18-1.
Oh, nice.
Some fights in Mexico. And even if you look at BoxRec, they got me turning pro as a referee in 79, and I know I turned pro in 77. So there's 2 years of my fight that not even recorded as a referee, and back then I was a judge as well. But I didn't continue because I changed managers about 3 or 4 times. looking for the right opportunity. It was a bantamweight, and back in those days when I was fighting, a bantamweight was not even really considered anything in boxing, you know, back in the 60s, in the early 60s. So anything from lightweight up, they had a relationship of bantamweight. Then I was bantamweight. Then I did as a featherweight. They were not looking at us that much.
The little guys there.
I was married. I got married at the age of 21. And I said to myself, you know, and now I have 2 kids. I said, I got to start getting myself a real job. And there's a real money coming in. Because you can't make it in boxing, you know, with the money they were paying back then. So that's why I didn't continue with that as a fighter. But it helped me to become a better referee, though.
Oh yeah, it looked like you made the right choice. Definitely a legend. Hey, who wins that dream match, Ali or Tyson?
You know, I say that if Ali gets hit by Tyson, Tyson wins by KO.
Night.
However, when I referee Mike Tyson against James Quick Tillis, Tyson, that was the first time that Tyson went the distance. I think it was his 15th professional fight. I saw that fight went the distance. It went 10 rounds, and I recall, I said to myself, man, I think Tyson gonna have a tough time against big, tall fighters, and he did.
Yep.
Against Buster Douglas.
Laid the blueprint out.
You know, he was a tall boxer from the outside, kept him outside. So I think about that. If Ali was to fight Tyson, and Tyson will tell you that he said in some interview that Ali was his idol. Ali was the man, you know. You know, Ali would say, I don't want to get hit by you, brother.
Yeah.
You know, the hardest hitting heavyweight out there. But Tyson would have had a tough time with Ali, and it would have been a hell of a fight to watch.
For sure. Well, Joe, we'll go ahead and wrap it up, but I just want to say one big giant thank you again. You're our first guest on this big giant project we're working on, the Spit Bucket Podcast. So it's been an honor to have you. A big giant thank you once again. Congratulations on your Hall of Fame career. We're so glad to have you with us still, nice and healthy and still influencing the boxing industry. So thank you very much, Joe. It's been an honor talking to you.
Yeah, man.
I want you guys to keep up with your work because I've been watching out there on social media. What you guys are doing is really top of the line stuff.
Hey,
I really appreciate it. You guys have something good going for yourselves and for the fans out there. The fans got to be watching shows like this. The Spit Bucket is really top of my list.
Hey, thank you, Joe. It's just an honor, you know, to hear you just talk the history of boxing and the matchups that you were in. We really appreciate you coming on here giving us your time.
Thank you so much, Joe. You stay healthy out there.
Happy New Year to everybody out there. Keep your guns up at all times. Get vaccinated and wear the mask. And bother the weed. Keep your distance.
Perfect. I'm fair, but I'm firm. Thank you very much, Joe. We appreciate you.
Salute.
Have a good one.
Here it comes.
TSB Main Event, brought to you by Overhead Door Pros. Fellas, if you can't get it up, you need to call Overhead Door Pros. These guys get the job done right and get out fast. You can call them at 817-689-9906 or visit www.garagedoorsorus.com on Facebook.com Overhead Door Pros.
This week in the Spit Bucket main event, let's talk what people want to talk about. Mr. Jake Paul and what he's doing to the sport. Take it away, Mr. Bradshaw.
I mean, I love what he's doing to the sport. I love it. You know, we got to salute Jake Paul because, you know, one thing I love about it is he putting the pressure on these fighters out here to fight each other. You know, I hate it because I hate that it had to be a YouTuber. But I love it because it had to be somebody. Because it had to bring attention to make these fighters understand that all that jibber jabbing that y'all were doing, it ain't gonna fly no more with us real bosses of boxing. But I love what Jake Paul doing because he's changing the landscape and making us understand that boxing has got better technology to where if we don't want to watch you, it's things that we could do to prevent your numbers from being sky high.
No, you're absolutely right. Listen, I'm torn with Jake Paul, man. I'm torn with, you know, I never thought I'd be sitting here on a podcast talking about a boxing podcast talking about Jake Paul. But I'll tell you this much. Kind of like what you said. I love it and I hate it. I love it for this reason. He's putting new eyeballs on a sport. He's putting a whole new audience that doesn't give a damn about boxing on the sport. And I'll give you an example. First fight I've ever watched with my son, and this isn't Jake Paul, it's his brother Logan, but still kind of under the same umbrella, was Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather. He's 15 years old. He's never given a damn about the sport. So that's kind of a little microcosm of what's happening, putting new eyeballs on the sport. And my goal for this whole thing is to grow the sport. But I hate it because we've got so much talent, dude. We've got so much talent, damn near in every weight division. And they're playing these silly ass little games, which ultimately gave Jake Paul the opportunity to capitalize on a market where the fighters weren't fighting each other. Said, hey dude, I'll do it. I'll sell some damn tickets too. So I love it. New eyeballs. I hate it. It's a YouTuber fighting people who aren't really boxers, claiming to be one of the best. I respect it. He's making money, and like I said earlier, Jake Paul's sharing his wealth. So I love what he's doing, but I just feel that it's a giant symbolic. It's symbolic of what boxing is today. One of the highest pay-per-views was a Jake Paul, or it was a Logan Paul fight last year.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I love it, what he's doing, because like you said, with fighters like Amanda Serrano, he helped her become a millionaire. With other fighters on the undercard, he gives them bigger purses than they ever had in their entire career. So what he's doing for the sport of boxing is actually a great thing, because fighters who was barely making it or wasn't getting their just due like they deserve to, Jake Paul is bringing that to them. And this is also what he's doing. He helping out us, the diehard fans around the world who are fed up. I mean, we're absolutely fed up, and we're done with these boxers and they prima donna attitudes. We're done with that. And Jake Paul is the pioneer of helping us change the sport of boxing, because if they want our eyeballs on it, if they want our money to pay for these fights, then they're going to have to do some type of change. But I want you to mention to what you mentioned earlier when we were talking about this leading up about subscriptions.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, Jake, if you're listening, or if somebody who can tweet him or something, Jake, if you claiming yourself to be the Messiah, the savior of boxing, I think you made a comment a couple weeks ago saying, hey, one of my goals this year is to buy out Mayweather Promotions to keep him from going bankrupt. If you claim to be the pioneer of resuscitating this sport and its numbers and the pay-per-view numbers, let's come up with a plan, dude. Let's come up with a plan where fighters are getting paid. I respect what you did. Listen, did you see after that Tyrone Woodley fight how happy Woodley's mama was? Because her boy was getting a big fat paycheck. That wasn't the case when he was dominating over in UFC. And that's a damn shame that he had to come over to boxing, get beat twice, he got knocked clean out.
Knockout of the year 2000.
Yeah, it's a lot of people call it knockout of the year. Listen, Jake, Sports Illustrated just a couple weeks ago announced you as the breakout athlete of the year 2021. I'm begging you as a boxing fan. I never thought I'd be begging a YouTuber for anything. I'm begging you as a boxing fan. Let's figure out a way, dude, to get pay-per-views coming back in. Because to Corey's point, people are streaming, people are doing it's a mess. We got to get these guys paid. I love what you did for Amanda Serrano. I know you came out of pocket and paid Woodley out of pocket for the first fight. So I love your heart. But if you claim to be a boxer, two things. Let's fix the pay-per-view issue and then start fighting real boxers, dude. Because I'm going to call it like I see it. I respect what you're doing in the game. I respect the hustle. You've got some talent, a little bit of talent. I see it. Normally people say you got to grow up in the sport, right?
But when you say he got to fight real boxers, I have no problem with what Jake Paul is
doing.
You're right,
bro.
I take anybody he want to fight, because at the end of the day, Jake Paul is he's a novice. Like you were just explaining, when you're a novice, you got to come up correctly. You can't just come up going in there against no Titans. You got to bring that dude up accordingly till you feel like he's ready to go in there against a boxer. You said fight boxers. He was going to fight a boxer. And Tommy Fury, before he said he broke his rib. And I seen an interview with Tommy Fury saying, you remember when his brother Tyson Fury was pounding the medicine ball on his side? I know that's what broke your ribs. And for Tommy Fury to get on there and tell a blatant lie lie to everybody from the 214 to across the pond, talking about they were sparring. No, it wasn't. It was Tyson Fury banging that thing. So he did set it up to where he was gonna fight a real boxer, but the other fighter backed out.
No, you're right. Hey, we got Chavez coming up. If we hear him and Chavez are in talks, I'd love to see that. You know, that would be a good measuring, you know, would tell us where you're at. But again, I'm not expecting Jake Paul to be undisputed champ of the world. And that's what frustrates me. And that's what, he's not expected to be undisputed champ of the world one day. But I am grateful that he's putting the new eyeballs on the sport. He's growing it and he's exposing the issues, the pay-per-view issues. The only reason Jake Paul is a boxer is because people don't want to fight each other. People are upset with Canelo. People are upset at the 160 division where nobody wants to fight each other, just waiting for Canelo's payday. People are upset at 130, the entire lightweight division, just ducking and dodging and holding on to the belts. People are upset with Earl Spence. So Jake Paul, I thank you for exposing those giant gaping issues that the boxing industry has. As a boxing purist is what I would consider myself. I'm not crazy about YouTubers headlining for fights, but dude, I would say that overall, I'm okay, and I appreciate what Jake Paul is doing to the sport.
And another thing, not only is he helping boxing, you know, he's helping the UFC too, because like you say, UFC fighters who over there making pennies, you know, we explained this, who making pennies per fight and what they should make, because actually in the UFC, they are fighting the fights that they need to fight. That's why the UFC is doing great numbers right now, but they're not getting paid the money that they need to get paid like these prima donna fighters are. And these prima donna fighters not even fighting each other. That's why I absolutely with you 100%. I love everything he doing for not only boxing, for combat sports period when it comes to the UFC, because them UFC fighters need a lot more respect put on their name than these boxing fighters, because they won't even fight each other like these UFC fighters do, even though it's by one sanctioning body, you know, who cares?
Yeah, like we talked about last week on the Spit Shit, what Jake Paul's challenging Dana White to do, pay your fighters more. So again, man, I appreciate Jake Paul's heart. I appreciate how we can't blame, it's not Jake Paul's fault that he didn't grow up boxing. So what he's doing by getting these names, it's amazing. It's amazing. As a boxing purist, and I know there's a lot of people watching that don't even want to talk about Jake Paul, but we would be silly not to talk about Jake Paul. Sports Illustrated just gave him the Breakout Athlete of the Year. We would be silly to ignore it. Boxing can't keep sticking with what they're doing. Because why? Numbers are falling. Fighters aren't fighting. So we need somebody to come in and shake it up. And like I said, I never thought I'd be saying this, but I'm okay with adapting. I'm okay with change. And Jake Paul's bringing that adaptation to the industry where either you're going to get with the program or you're not. I just wish we'd figure out a way where we can get some subscriptions or something to get these boxers paid and these pay-per-views stop failing.
Yeah, but if these boxers want to get paid,
they gotta fight each other. Gotta fight each other.
You know, look, salute to Jake Paul. Like I said, I love what you're doing. But in boxing, it shouldn't have been no way ever that a YouTuber could come in this sport and be more popular and be headline Showtime fights more than boxers who are well accomplished if you guys did what you guys were supposed to do. So I have no problem with what Jake Paul is doing. You know, I love what he's doing, especially helping, you know, the ladies.
Piggybacking on what you just said, oh yeah, and yeah, what you're doing for the ladies is amazing. But piggybacking on what you just said, shame on Al Heyman. Shame on Bob Arum. I like Eddie Hearn. Shame on Eddie Hearn. Like,
but why you say shame on Bob Arum?
I'm not here to play the blame game. I know Bob Arum used to make giant fights with Don King. Yeah. Shame on the whole damn industry, dude. Shame on the networks. I don't know who is to blame. These promoters need to get together and figure this shit out, because it's
3 words.
PBC. Uncle Al.
Is to be blamed.
Uncle Al, you're lining up pay-per-views that don't even need to be. They need to be on local TV, dude. Like, this doesn't need to be pay-per-views. Like, this is ridiculous. And if you have a problem with Jake Paul, if you have a problem with Logan Paul, if you have a problem with exhibitions, if you have a problem with Floyd Mayweather fighting on the top of a building in Dubai, stop buying these stupid ass pay-per-views. Stop supporting your favorite fighter just because he's your favorite fighter. Start holding them accountable because it's affecting the entire industry.
Agree 100%.
We out of time already, dude?
It's time to go.
I want to keep talking. All right, looks like we're out of time today, guys, but just a couple reminders. I'm not sure where to point. It's right here somewhere.
Right here.
But remember, we've got a growing jackpot every month. There's our Cash App. One lucky winner will get half of our monthly donations. So every $5 donation is an entry to your drawing. We're keeping up with it. Just shoot it over to our Cash App. At the end of every month, we'll go on to Spit Bucket Unscripted. We'll go live, and one lucky winner is going to take 50% of all of our donations. So there's something in it for you guys. Tell them about our merch site and the foundation.
Oh yeah, also, go to the spitbucketpodcast.com. Make sure y'all order our merchandise because 10% of our proceeds go to the TSB Warrior Foundations to fighters who have fallen tragically in the ring, and we're trying to do our part to help them out. So we need everybody from the 214 to across the pond to really show up and show out when it comes to the TSB Warriors Foundations. There's no other podcast doing this, period. When it comes to boxing, when it comes to fallen fighters, TSB, us, Karay Bradshaw, JJ Solomon, 10% of our proceeds are going to them. So make sure y'all go to the spitbucketpodcast.com, order that merchandise so y'all can help change some of these fallen fighters' lives.
And then one last thing, we'll share our social media there at the end. Follow us on Instagram, Spit Bucket Official. We're on Twitter, TSB Podcast OFCL. We're on Facebook at the Spit Bucket. But guys, you got to check out what we're doing in the crypto, metaverse, NFT world. Go to tsbnft.com. Buying one of these NFTs gets you access to our events. Our first one coming up in May. It's going to be an exclusive NFT holder only open bar. I hope you guys dress up a little bit. You don't have to, but it's going to be exclusive, open bar. We'll have the Canelo watch party. We'll have food for you. But it's exclusive to NFT holders. Also, we're going to teach you about NFTs, cryptocurrency, the metaverse. We're normally charging for this service, but pick up that TSB NFT and you'll get free lessons. Just stay tuned. We'll keep you guys updated. But go check out tsbnft.com, our social media.
And one more thing. Shout out to all our sponsors.
We love it.
We really appreciate y'all. Shout out to all our sponsors who put their efforts behind TSB, the Spit Bucket. We really appreciate y'all.
Thank you guys so much. Tune in next week. We ask that you like this, we share this, you subscribe to this, mash the bell button, mash the like button, let everybody know. Play it at your barbershop. Tell everybody we appreciate the support. We've got so much more to bring to you guys. Thank you so much. Tune in next week. We appreciate y'all.
Hey.